Okay, so today we're doing a deep dive on the habits of highly successful people.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, we're going to be like sifting through all this research and trying to figure out, what are the things that these people, the people who've like reached the top of their game, whatever field it is, like what do they all have in common?
Yeah, like what makes them tick, right?
Exactly. And like how can we learn from that, and apply it to our own lives?
Makes sense.
All right, so we've got a bunch of different sources here that we've been looking at, and
A lot of material to go through.
yeah, a lot of material, but we're gonna try to like distill it down to like the really key takeaways,
Mm.
the stuff that's gonna be most helpful.
Yeah, and I think just to be clear, when we say highly successful, we're not just talking about like money or fame or whatever.
Right.
It's really about like, achieving a significant level of accomplishment and recognition in whatever field you're in.
Yeah, like it could be business or leadership or sports or the arts or even like just personal fulfillment,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. It's multifaceted.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's get into it. So one of the first things that really jumps out from the research is the importance of mindset,
Oh yeah, mindset is huge.
and specifically, this idea of like a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset.
Yeah, this comes up again and again.
Yeah, it's like fundamental, and basically like a growth mindset is the belief that your abilities can be developed.
Yeah, like you're not limited by what you're born with.
Exactly, you can always learn and grow and improve.
Right. And people with a growth mindset, they tend to see challenges as opportunities, like a chance to learn something new.
Yeah, rather than like a threat.
Yeah, exactly. And they also see effort as like the path to mastery,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, like
So,
the more you put in, the better you get.
exactly.
Yeah.
And they're not afraid of setbacks either.
Right. They see them as like learning experiences,
Right. And they're inspired by other people's success.
instead of being threatened by it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, like, on the flip side, you've got the fixed mindset.
Right. The fixed mindset is like the opposite, you
Yeah.
know?
Where people believe that their talents are just like inherent and unchangeable.
Yeah, they're like, this is who I am. This is what I can do. Take it or leave it.
Yeah. And so they tend to like avoid challenges, because they're afraid of failing.
Right. Or they see effort as a sign of weakness. Like, if I have to try really hard, then I must not be good at this.
Exactly. And they give up easily when things get tough.
Yeah. And they often feel threatened by other people's success.
Right. So like why is this growth mindset so important?
Well, I think it's because it underpins so many other success habits.
Okay.
Like, if you don't believe that you can improve, then why bother developing new skills or taking risks or putting in the effort?
Right. It's like you're already setting yourself up for failure.
Exactly. And the research also talks a lot about the power of positive thinking.
Right. I mean, this kind of goes hand in hand with the growth mindset.
Absolutely. It's like fuel for the fire.
Yeah, like a positive outlook can really make a difference in how you approach challenges and how you deal with setbacks.
For sure, it builds your confidence. It helps you manage stress better.
And it can even enhance your problem-solving skills and your creativity.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, so it's not just about believing in your potential, but also having that positive drive to actually pursue it.
Right.
And there are some practical things you can do to cultivate that positive thinking.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like practicing gratitude, for example.
Okay, like just taking the time to appreciate the good things in your life.
Exactly. And using positive affirmations.
Like telling yourself that you can do it.
Exactly. And surrounding yourself with positive people.
Yeah, because negativity can be contagious.
Oh, for sure. So you want to be around people who are lift you up and support you.
All right, so we've talked about mindset and positive thinking. Now let's move on to goal setting and planning.
Okay, because you need to have something to aim for, right?
Exactly, and the research is very clear on this. You need to set clear and compelling goals.
Yeah, vague goals are like trying to hit a target that's not even there.
Exactly. So you got to be specific about what you want to achieve.
Right. And that's where the SMART criteria comes in.
SMART criteria.
Yeah, stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
So it's like a checklist for your goals.
Exactly. It helps you make sure that your goals are well-defined and that you have a plan for actually achieving them.
Okay, so let's break that down a little bit. What does specific mean in this context?
Well, it means that your goal should be clearly defined, like what exactly do you want to achieve?
Yeah.
And measurable means that you should be able to track your progress,
So you can see if you're actually moving towards your goal,
right? And achievable means that your goal should be realistic.
like something that you can actually accomplish.
Exactly. And relevant means that your goal should be aligned with your values and your overall objectives.
So it's something that you actually care about.
right? And time-bound means that you should set a deadline for yourself.
Okay, so you have a sense of urgency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's important to remember that goal setting isn't just a one-time event, you know?
Right.
It's an ongoing process. You need to be constantly revisiting your goals and making sure that they're still relevant and that you're still on track.
And that's where planning comes in, right?
Absolutely. Planning is like the roadmap to achieving your goals.
Yeah, it's about breaking down those big goals into smaller, actionable steps.
Right. And creating a schedule and sticking to it.
And the research shows that this is really important for building routine and fostering discipline.
For sure. And it also helps you anticipate potential obstacles and come up with solutions in advance.
Okay, so we've talked about goal setting and planning. Now let's move on to time management.
Yes, time management, the bane of everyone's existence.
Yeah, it's something that we all struggle with.
But it's so crucial for success, you know?
Right, because time is a finite resource.
Exactly. We all have the same 24 hours in a day,
And so it's about using that time effectively.
and that's where the time management matrix comes in.
Okay, so tell me about this matrix.
Well, basically, it divides your tasks into 4 quadrants based on urgency and importance.
Okay.
So you have tasks that are urgent and important tasks that are important but not urgent tasks that are urgent but not important, and tasks that are neither urgent nor important.
And the idea is to focus on the tasks that are both urgent and important. Right?
Exactly. Those are the ones that need to be done immediately.
Okay.
And then the tasks that are important but not urgent, you should schedule those for later.
So you don't let them become urgent.
Right. And the tasks that are urgent but not important, you should delegate those if possible.
So you can free up your time for the more important stuff.
Exactly. And the tasks that are neither urgent nor important, you should just eliminate those altogether.
Okay, so how do you actually put this into practice?
Well, there are a lot of different techniques you can use, like time blocking, for example.
Block.
Yeah, where you block out specific chunks of time in your schedule for different tasks.
Okay. And to-do lists.
Right. To-do lists are great for keeping track of everything you need to get done.
But the key is to actually stick to your schedule and your to-do list.
Exactly. Consistency is key.
And the research also highlights the importance of focusing on your most important tasks first each day.
Yeah, the MITs.
What are MITs?
It stands for Most Important Tasks.
Right.
So these are the 1 to 3 things that are going to move the needle the most on your goals.
So you should do those first thing in the morning before you get bogged down with other stuff.
Exactly. And another important concept is deep work.
Deep work, what's that?
It's basically the ability to focus intensely on a task for an extended period of time without distractions.
Okay.
And it's becoming increasingly valuable in today's world where we're constantly bombarded with distractions.
So how do you cultivate deep work?
Well, it takes practice,
Yeah.
like anything else, but there's some things you can do to make it easier.
Like,
Well, first of all, you need to eliminate distractions.
Really?
So turn off your phone, put away your email, close your door,
got it.
and then you need to create a dedicated workspace where you can focus.
Okay, and what about like specific techniques? Are there any like proven methods for improving your focus?
Oh, yeah, there are a lot of different techniques out there, like the Pomodoro technique, for example.
The Pomodoro technique, what's that?
It's where you work for 25 minutes and then take a 5-minute break, and then you repeat that
Yeah.
cycle.
Interesting. And does that actually work?
Yeah, for some people, it really
Nice.
helps them stay focused and avoid burnout.
Okay.
And then there's also getting things done, or GTD.
GCD, okay.
It's a whole system for managing your tasks and projects.
And is it effective?
Yeah, a lot of people swear by it.
Interesting.
But the key with any of these techniques is to find what works for you and then stick with it.
Right. Consistency is key.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've talked about mindset, goal setting, time management. Now let's move on to continuous learning,
Yes. Learning never stops.
especially in today's rapidly changing world.
Exactly. If you're not constantly learning and growing, you're falling behind.
And the research shows that successful people are lifelong learners.
They're always curious. They're always seeking out new information and new skills.
And they're not afraid to step outside of their comfort zone.
Exactly. They know that the more they learn, the more valuable they become.
And how do they actually go about learning?
Well, they read a lot, for one thing.
Yeah, books, articles, blogs, anything they can get their hands on.
Exactly. And they also attend conferences and workshops.
And they network with other people in their field.
Right. They're always looking for opportunities to learn from others.
And they're not afraid to ask questions.
Exactly. Because they know that there's always more to learn.
And alongside continuous learning, there's also this concept of adaptability.
Ah, yes. Adaptability. That's crucial in today's world.
Because things are changing so fast.
Exactly. You need to be able to adjust your strategies and your plans on the fly.
And the research suggests that adaptability is closely linked to that growth mindset we talked about earlier.
Absolutely, because if you believe that you can learn and grow, then you're more likely to embrace change.
And you're less likely to be thrown off course when things don't go according to plan.
Exactly. So how do you cultivate adaptability?
Well, one thing you can do is actively seek out feedback,
Okay.
because feedback can help you identify areas where you need to improve.
Right. And you can also try new things and step outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah, like taking on new challenges or learning new skills.
Exactly. The more you expose yourself to new experiences, the more adaptable you'll become.
All right, so we've talked about mindset, goal setting, time management, continuous learning, adaptability. Now let's move on to resilience.
Ah, yes, resilience, the ability to bounce back from setbacks.
Because let's face it, everyone experiences setbacks at some point in their
It's
lives.
inevitable.
And it's how you deal with those setbacks that determines whether you succeed or fail.
Exactly. Resilient people are able to pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and keep moving forward.
And the research highlights a number of factors that contribute to resilience.
Like what?
Well, strong relationships, for one thing.
Okay, having people you can rely on for support.
Exactly. And also prioritizing self-care
Right. Taking care of your physical and mental health.
and having a sense of purpose
Knowing why you're doing what you're doing.
and maintaining perspective
Not letting setbacks get you down.
and developing strong problem-solving skills
So you can find solutions to challenges.
and setting realistic goals
So you don't set yourself up for disappointment.
and learning how to manage stress effectively.
So you can stay calm under pressure.
And when those inevitable setbacks do occur, there are a number of things you can do to overcome them.
Like what?
Well, first of all, you need to accept the situation.
Okay.
Don't try to deny it or pretend it didn't happen.
Right.
And then you need to choose to be resilient.
You have to make a conscious decision to bounce back.
Exactly. And you need to maintain faith in yourself and your ability to succeed.
Even when things are tough.
Right. And you need to focus on the present and the future.
Don't dwell on the past.
And you need to be willing to adapt your approach.
If something's not working, try something different.
And it can be helpful to visualize yourself overcoming the setback and achieving your goals.
Okay.
And it's important to remember that failure is not the opposite of success.
It's part of the process.
Exactly. And you can learn a lot from your failures.
And the faster you can adjust and move on from setbacks, the better.
Right, because dwelling on them is only going to hold you back.
Exactly.
And underpinning all of this is perseverance.
Yes, perseverance, the unwavering commitment to your goals.
No matter what obstacles you face.
It's the fuel that keeps you going when you want to give up.
And it's something that you can develop over time.
Right. The more you persevere through challenges, the stronger you become.
Okay, so we've talked about mindset, goal setting, time management, continuous learning, adaptability, resilience. Now let's move on to communication and interpersonal skills.
Oh, yes. These are essential for success in any field.
Because no one achieves success in isolation.
Exactly. You need to be able to communicate effectively with others.
Whether it's your colleagues, your clients, your customers, or your investors.
Right. And the research highlights a number of key communication habits.
Like what?
Well, first of all, you need to be clear and concise in your communication.
Okay, get to the point.
Exactly. And you need to be well prepared.
So you know what you're talking about.
And you need to be aware of your nonverbal cues.
Like your body language and your tone of voice.
Exactly, because those can speak volumes.
And you need to be a good listener.
Really listening to what other people are saying.
And you need to have emotional intelligence.
Being aware of your own emotions and the emotions of others.
And you need to be authentic.
Being yourself.
And you need to be empathetic.
Putting yourself in other people's shoes.
And you need to tailor your communication to your audience.
Speaking in a way that they will understand and appreciate.
Right, so it's not just about what you say, but how you say it.
Exactly.
And in addition to communication skills, the research also emphasizes the importance of interpersonal skills.
Right, because success is often about building relationships with others.
And some of the key interpersonal skills that are highlighted in the research include empathy,
Understanding and relating to others.
conflict management,
Being able to resolve disagreements effectively.
deep listening,
Really listening to understand, not just to respond. Being able to persuade others.
teamwork,
Working effectively with others.
and rapport building.
Establishing a connection with others.
And these skills are especially important for leaders.
Absolutely, because leaders need to be able to build trust and inspire others.
And effective communication is essential for that.
It helps prevent misunderstandings and fosters collaboration.
Okay, so we've talked about mindset, goal setting, time management, continuous learning, adaptability, resilience, communication, and interpersonal skills. Now, let's move on to the final piece of the puzzle, self-care.
Ah, yes, self-care, the often neglected but essential ingredient for success.
It's not selfish, it's essential.
Exactly. You can't pour from an empty cup.
And the research makes it very clear that self-care is not a luxury.
It's a necessity,
If you want to achieve sustainable success, you need to take care of yourself.
both physically and mentally.
And that means prioritizing sleep,
Getting enough rest,
setting healthy boundaries,
saying no to things that drain your
and
energy,
engaging in regular exercise,
moving your body,
practicing mindfulness,
being present in the moment,
nurturing your relationship,
spending time with people you care about,
taking breaks,
stepping away from work to recharge,
pursuing hobbies,
doing things you enjoy.
and even continuous learning can be a form of self-care.
Right, because it helps you grow and develop as a person,
And all of these things contribute to your overall well-being.
which in turn enhances your focus, your motivation, your resilience, and your cognitive function.
And alongside self-care, there's also this concept of work-life balance.
Ah, yes, work-life balance, the holy grail,
Yeah, it's something that a lot of people struggle with.
especially in today's always-on culture.
But it's so important for your overall health and happiness.
Absolutely, and it's not about perfectly dividing your time between work and life.
Right. It's about making intentional choices about how you spend your time and energy.
Exactly, so you can create a life that is both fulfilling and sustainable.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, it's clear that all of these habits are interconnected and mutually reinforcing.
Right. They all work together to create a virtuous cycle.
So if you want to achieve success in your life, you need to focus on developing all of these habits.
And the good news is that anyone can do it.
It's just a matter of making a commitment and putting in the effort.
And the key is consistency,
Right. You need to practice these habits on a regular basis.
until they become second nature.
And it's also important to remember that there is no one-size-fits-all approach.
Right. What works for one person may not work for another.
So you need to experiment and find what works best for you.
And be patient.
It takes time to develop new habits
But it's worth it.
because these habits can truly transform your life.
Absolutely. They can help you achieve your goals and live a more fulfilling life.
So on that note, here's a final thought for you to ponder.
I'm listening.
Consider which of these habits, if you focused on strengthening it right now, could have the biggest positive impact on your current goals.
That's a great question to think about.
Yeah, it's something to really chew on.
I think I'll do that.
Me too.